Podcast Fandom, the official podcast for ProjectFandom.com. I'm your host, Laena.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are back to discuss House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 2, The Rogue Prince. So many things. First of all, you and I were saying, like, right before we started, like, we were excited to talk about it because it's so good. And I was going to tweet this earlier, but I feel like a bold statement. But I feel like this, in these 2 episodes so far, is better than the first season of Game of Thrones. Just in terms of, like every scene is something. And the writing, the dialogue doesn't feel clunky like Game of Thrones could. I think some of the acting is definitely better. It's so good.
Yes.
It's so good. It's just so, like tight. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just...
Right.
In 2 episodes, it's just telling the fucking story. Like, you know, there's, no extra fat. Nothing feels, Oh, it's so good. I'm sorry.
I completely agree. I mean, it feels like we've known these people forever. You know exactly who they are, exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did an amazing whole thing up in just, less than 2 hours.
Yeah. I will say, they released the episode titles, and I don't know, I won't say what, first of all, did you look at them?
I did.
Okay, I know you did. Who am I talking to?
You know me.
But I won't say the title of the last episode. But honey, when I tell you, when I saw the title of the season finale, I may have fainted a bit.
Yes.
I was like, oh, this is going to be good. And I needed to see that because I have a feeling that, I'm trying to say this without being spoilery, I have a feeling that what I'm rooting for is going to take a lot of L's before we get there. So I needed to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because I have a feeling I'm just going to be mad the whole season. It's a little feeling. And that's all I'll say. And if you need me to clarify later, I will. But yeah, one title I did see I'm excited about is called Driftmark.
Yeah.
And that is where the Valerian family is and from. And they're, So I'm super excited about that, especially because I feel like that's episode 5 or 6. It's a ways. So I'm really interested in what's going on with this seemingly possible new alliance between Daemon and Corlys. And again, just way more interested in the kind of side stuff than I think I was Jon going to the wall.
Right.
This stuff is way more interesting to me.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm excited that we'll be getting more Driftmark, is my point, later in the season. What did you think of this episode specifically?
It was just really great. Much slower pace, of course, than the previous episode. I think the premiere really kind of shocked us into the world and really got us situated in how similar and how different it was from the Game of Thrones Westeros. But this is, it had these crucial world-building aspects that are needed for the rising conflict. The thematic harping on lingering wounds was a very important concept of the week. And politically, there's a lingering wound from the Great Council, and of course physically, the lingering wound of his nasty hand.
The maggots, yes.
Yes, and that's not only true for Viserys and Rhaenyra, but also the whole Valyrian branch, the whole Targaryen branch. All of these, everybody is hurting here, and they're setting up this conflict that will go on and on and on. And it's so hard to like root for any choice of Viserys's, but at the same time, he's clearly programmed to make the wrong one or the right one for the wrong reasons.
Right.
And here he is out here surrounded by men who are made of stronger stuff, ready to make bigger decisions.
Yes.
And he just misses the boat
every
time.
Every fucking time.
Right.
He just, like you said, even if it's like of your choices, probably the better decision, like he's so...
Right. He does it in the wrong way.
Yes. Everything about him, I think someone in our group described him as chinless.
Yes.
I think it was Deshaun in the first episode. He was like, "Oh, this chinless king gotta go," and it's like,
yes,
but it's again what I said last week. Watching him play it with that kindness that he talks about from his mom, the actor Patty, like seeing that it's so different than like watching. Again, obviously there are going to be comparisons. Robert's reign in those early episodes of the first season of Game of Thrones, right?
Yes.
It's like, it's so different because you're actually rooting for him every fucking time he's given a choice, and you're just like, come on, dude. And then he doesn't, and you're like, you fucking idiot. But then he has that stupid look on his face, like he's like a puppy, like he's just trying to please everybody in the fucking room.
Like,
and
oh,
like,
man.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. He has no guile. He's not thinking it through.
And that's...
He's the real... I think that they do a great job setting up the two conflicts with the girls. They're both on the precipice of everything that's going on for the rest of their life, whereas Alicent is made to be this... she's programmed into this life, and Rhaenyra has essentially been feral, and all the problems that it's going to take them on down the road. And then, of course, we have this gorgeous set piece later, on Dragonstone that is so beautiful and really sets up, my favorite kind of relationship, of course.
The incestuous ones.
The morally gray villain.
That one.
And the younger woman who surprises him into respecting her.
Yeah.
And that's all I really need of any show.
That service. Sarah was service in this episode. Got it.
Yes.
I loved it too. It goes by so fast. But again, it feels like every scene matters, and like you said, you feel like you know who these people are. I'm already invested in like rooting for people. I know someone on Twitter earlier today was like, don't, like, PSA, don't pick a side, like, don't. And they claim to like not know what's going to happen in the show, but they were just like, you're just like setting yourself up for heartache. It's Game of Thrones, like, don't pick a side. And I was like, bitch, sides have been picked already. Like, first of all,
the point of this is picking a side,
right? Like, when you tell me black or green, I'm just going black off rip. But now that I feel like I know what those things stand for, I'm rooting for this. Like, and I think it's interesting though. Like, I don't know if this is what this person was referring to, but I've already seen talk about this from last night's episode. It's interesting that they're not playing so far Alicent as villainous. She's still a child. She is. I thought it was very interesting in the scene where Otto asks if she's going to go to the king that night, and she goes, "If you wish." So she's still making it, and it feels like when you see her scenes with the king, that is, she's like allowing her father to think that he is still controlling this. But when she's with the king, it feels like she's smitten. Yeah. To me.
They're developing an understanding, at least.
Right.
She doesn't not like him.
Right. And I think that it's almost, I'm curious to see what happens when the roles, when they age up, to see what Emma Cook does with it and to see just how it's written, and God, I hope that's her name. But it's almost like, and I hope it's this because it gives her a bit more meat, but it's almost like she understood, like, I know my dad, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know my father, I know what the fuck he meant, I know why he's sending me here, I know what he wants more than the king knows what he wants, apparently. And it's almost like she was like, you precious sweet summer child. Like, you don't know that my father is just sending me here. Like, so I believe that she has genuine, like, affection for him as much as a 15-year-old child can, you know, believe that they have affection for a man that they're going to marry. But it's interesting that they're not playing this as it, so far anyway, as her being crown hungry or power hungry. So it's sympathetic, even though I feel like everybody who watched that episode last night, when he said Lady Allison, I was like, no, not her. Like, that said, I'm all prepared to hate her guts, and that is my prerogative.
Oh yeah, people change,
right? I'm so curious
whether she was set up in the first place. You know, now I am certainly sympathetic to her situation. But 10 years down the road,
and
that doesn't mean...
Like, you know, I speculated when the little light bulb went off last week why it was black versus green. It feels like that's where it's going. As you guys know, if you've been listening, we will talk about scenes for next week that they play after the episode. And considering, now I just remembered the title of next week's episode, and then the scenes for next week, it's very clear what happens. Right. And even there, I feel like, well, of course she's going to want her son to ascend to the... But I'm just like, but bitch, this ain't your place. No, I'm sorry.
Which Rhaenys tried to communicate.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that desire.
Right. But...
it creates problems.
Right, but Rhaenyra needs to realize that the desire is there. That this isn't, girl, you're not just sitting around waiting for your daddy to die. I'm telling you, at one point in this episode, when he's like waffling and he's considering Laena and you know, and the audience knows he's also considering Allison, right?
Right.
And what this is going to do with his relationship with his daughter, like all this is going on. After Rhaenys gave her the talk, I was like, she got to kill her daddy. That's when I tell you, I'd have just put that old man out his fucking misery. Gave him some milk and a fucking poppy over dinner.
Right? Who would know?
Listen,
he doesn't hardly leave his room.
Listen, and save a whole bunch of death and drama. Because I bet you now, when he talking about he's going to marry her bestie, I bet you now she's wishing she had smothered his ass. Left to his own devices, his dumb ass is like, I'm gonna, oh Jesus. Anyway, all right, so you ready to talk about these details of the Little Prince? All right, so the crab feeder, he out here feeding crabs.
Ugh.
He is, bless you, Donnie, he is living up to his name. And this is to refresh folks' memories from last week, and it is talked about more later in the episode, that there's like these pirates, if you will, out there hijacking ships that are using these shipping lanes for, you know, importing, exporting goods. And they call themselves the Triarchy, I think. And though they're supposedly not like affiliated with any of the free cities, it's just understood that there are folks in the free cities, and we know how they get down. Like, we know some of the things they were doing over there, that are more than willing to kind of financially back this Triarchy to weaken Westeros. And it's working, and the head of this kind of band of pirates is called the Crab Feeder, because he feeds his victims to the crabs. And we see that in the opening.
That was nasty. I can handle a lot. Like, the maggots don't bother me at all.
But the crabs did it? Really?
Oh, the flapping leg
Oh, yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God. I was like, the second time I saw it, I
yeah.
yelped. Because the first time I'm watching it on my Kindle Fire because I'm
Mm,
getting ready for bed or
right,
something like
right.
that. But then the second time I'm watching it on a bigger screen and
Yeah,
suddenly these details are up in my face and
yeah, and the sound,
oh,
yeah.
yes,
So
the sound.
I've heard people like speculating what's going on here, like what he's wearing, what is on his skin.
Mhm.
I've heard some people wonder if he has grayscale.
He
Um,
does.
he does.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That got me. Like the crabs is fine, but I don't want to. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Because yeah, I saw people wondering, is that like? So like, what is that on his head though? That's not the grayscale, right? He's wearing
No,
like a helmet of
yeah,
something
I
bone.
think it's like a part of a carapace of a crab, some kind of
Oh,
crustacean.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, but he
So
does
this
have
is,
grayscale. That's interesting.
yeah, so this is reminiscent of the Stone Men,
Right.
later.
Yes.
And they kind of they when they hijack the ship that Tyrion is on, they
Right.
kind of like jump in there and they're doing piracy, but that's in this a similar area. So
Got it. Got it.
yeah,
And you're talking about this is when it was Tyrion
right,
with they were trying to smuggle him to Daenerys, and they got
right.
yes. Okay. We learned that the Kingsguard has an opening because one of the like the head, right? Which
Right, the Lord Commander, Sir
he
Ryam.
okay, he died in his sleep.
Right. So
Now,
he was really old.
okay,
I
because
mean, he was
listen,
not like really old, but old for an army guy.
because listen, season 1 of Game of Thrones, John Aaron died apparently
Right.
of natural causes. No, but this guy dies in his sleep, and it leaves an opening. So it's discussed that with the help of Otto, homeboy, what's homeboy's name?
Harold Westerling.
Westerling. Why do I keep forgetting? I won't forget it again. Um, he's had some knights brought in for consideration. So that's
Yeah.
going to happen. Corlys storms into this small council meeting. He wants action because Crabfeeder and his men have taken 4 more ships. This time, one of them flying the Valerian banner, and so he's taking that ship personally. And fucking Otto's like, "You'll get compensation." He's like, "I don't want fucking compensation.
Right.
I want to put my foot up somebody's ass."
I think it's funny that he busts in and he's like, "Stop dithering about the court business." He's not even in there.
No.
He doesn't know what they're talking about.
No.
But
No.
it is a fair accusation because he knows that's the only thing they want to talk
He's
about.
like, "Y'all are
is
talking
dumb
about dumb shit. Y'all are talking about
Right.
knights and tourneys and balls and bullshit."
shit. And I'm talking about
Money.
my ship.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. And
And
how
to
we're
some
out here
degree-
looking like babies to the rest of the world because
Yes.
because we also learned in this conversation from Corlys that Daemon has been wilding for 6 months. So it's been 6 months since the last
Yes.
episode. Six months since the death of the queen. Daemon was told take his ass to Runestone. Daemon took his ass to Dragonstone. And he still has gold cloaks who are loyal to him. And they're basically squatting at Dragonstone. He is calling himself the Prince of Dragonstone.
Right. So technically, this is the seat of the heir,
Right?
and she's supposed to take it over whenever she, quote, comes of age. Technically, she would be almost of age. Women and men come of age in Westeros at 16, so she's about 6 months off or
Mhm.
less. And he's taking advantage of this little vacuum of time to set him up and pretend like he doesn't know.
Squatters' rights.
Right. Just seeing how far he can push things.
I know that this isn't a matter of race because this is, dragons and all that stuff. And the only place apparently that it matters that Corlys is black is in the real world where races are horrible. But when Otto is like, just because you got a seat at the table. I was like, nigga, you racist. I know racism when I see it. I feel it. It's a feeling. It felt racist to me. But anyway, but I don't like this man, and I cannot. I will tell you, last night I was like so tempted to spoil myself. I was like, just tell me when he dies. Please make it soon. Like, please don't tell me it's like 2 seasons of him. I really hate Otto so much. But credit to the actor.
Otto cannot resist provoking people.
Yes.
He's always gotta like stick the pin in and say that thing, and it's a ridiculous statement where he's sitting there saying, this doesn't make you equal to the king just because you're sitting at the table, when Otto is a lesser lord.
He really is. Right, exactly.
Corlys.
And then when you learn that later, when Corlys is talking about, you know, how the might, like I feel like a couple of times in this episode, they're really stressing to people how powerful the Valerian family is, the name is, and how he was basically like, you know, by some accounts and some books, it said even bigger than the Targaryen dynasty. It's just we didn't have dragons. So, I mean, they're really kind of setting up how much of a ask it is for this man to keep swallowing his words and prides to someone like Otto Hightower.
Especially considering that Rhaenys was second in consideration, first in consideration. So really, they would never have been having this conversation in the first place if Viserys hadn't been elected.
Otto got no Targaryen blood in his veins, but he talking like he got a little bit. Like he's really thinking like he's at the grown folks table. I hate him so much. Right. So yeah, he wants action, but the king is, you know, slow to act because it's our King Viserys. But Rhaenyra's like, look, let's go fuck shit up because we got dragon riders.
Right. Meanwhile, she's still pouring wine. Nothing has happened. Nothing has happened in 6 months. Nothing. She's not sitting at the table.
No.
And then she opens her mouth and suggests something perfectly reasonable that would assuage a lot of people's concerns, especially Corlys. Probably solve the problem. And everybody's like,
yep.
The girl spoke.
And it's so frustrating because the reason he is doing this, like, well, the reason they say, even from the opening, the cold open of the first episode, that this is all about stability in the realm, not creating power vacuums, you know, strengthening the line of succession, all of that. And he knew that it wasn't popular when it was Rhaenys that got denied and he was chosen, but he's choosing to do it now. And that's why I love later when she's like, he didn't choose me, he spurned Daemon. There's a difference, right? But then you would think,
and that's true,
it's true, but you would think though, if especially when you have someone like Rhaenys saying later, and your father is no fool, like he understands that it would make them feel better if he got married and did have a son and all of that. But until then, like you said, back her up. Build her up. Because it's not like they're never going to trust or want a woman queen if you do this in front of your council, which is, you know, presumably one day going to be part of her council. You know, like, he's so frustrating. He's so frustrating.
I mean, this just goes to his whole character, which he explains later.
Yes.
He believes that his function is to avoid conflict
at all costs. Yes.
It is in front of his face, but he doesn't believe in conflict for a single time. So he's
around
the Red Keep.
Wait 1 second, because you dropped out. He doesn't believe in conflict until it's necessary, but then go ahead, pick up from there.
But he doesn't conflict. So he's been letting Rhaenyra run around the Red Keep this whole time and not learn anything. She doesn't know, versus Alicent, who is a creature of the Red Keep. She's a creature of court. She was actually born in the Red Keep. She's never been home. She's never seen the High Tower. She is here.
Serving
and so
around,
she knows, right? She knows her function.
And that's why it was
all her
like
skills here.
It feels like that's why she was particularly frustrated with Rhaenyra in that first episode, where it feels like, why can't you just accept your role? Like, I know my role, like, and she was like, I don't want to do this. I want to fly around with you and eat cake. And she seemed like personally offended by that, like,
right.
She's like a hater. It's internalized misogyny. I'm sorry. Let me stop. She's 15.
She's she's been raised on enjoying so much, you have to imagine, because she's constantly being shaped into this creature despite what she wants.
Right.
And here, Rhaenyra does get to have a little bit of what she wants. And Alicent is being put in this position over and over again where she doesn't necessarily want that, but it doesn't really matter. And the king is just, to some degree, he likes Rhaenyra's this way. He likes that little bit of wild child because he wants to be that way.
Yeah.
He loves it in Daemon.
Yep.
He loves it in his daughter, and he doesn't want to, he's not looking at reality and what's inevitably going to happen. So even though he has named her his heir, and he says he doesn't intend to replace her, I don't know that he ever thinks, if he was honest with himself, which he's completely unprepared to be, that it will actually go through.
I feel like I think he is so naive that I don't know yet that Alicent would do anything, again, because that's why I'm curious to see what type of woman she becomes now that she's going to marry the king. But Otto, I don't know why he thinks why he wouldn't be killed, or why, I don't know, because I know why. He's stupid. But I've watched Game of Thrones, so I know how this goes. And I'm just and that's the thing that's frustrating, because when you have someone like Daemon telling him last week, they all fucking play you. Right. I would protect you, and he's like, from everyone, from yourself. You're ridiculous, He doesn't see it. He trusts the wrong fucking people. And I hate to say it, but the smartest thing he could have done was said, you know what? I will marry the 12-year-old. And I'll just wait till she's 16, 17. I'll wait as long as, that would have been the best thing given the choices. But now he's fancied himself in love with a 15-year-old, 3-year difference. Yes. Jesus Christ.
Right. That so much better? The
patriarchy. Okay. So, yeah, she's dismissed, and they're like, go pick out some dishes or something. No, Go pick out some curtains. I don't know. They'd send her off to go do something.
Go look at boys.
Go look at boys, yeah. And she does, and she ends up picking Kristen Cole because he's cute, but he's also seen action. But mainly he's cute.
Right. And it's interesting that they sent her to do this, and I thought it was, first of all, I thought it was kind of interesting that Westerling gives a little bit of attitude. And whether it is that he doesn't approve of how the king is treating her, or he doesn't, it's hard to say, because you imagine that maybe he's a little bit affectionate of Rhaenyra.
I think so, yeah.
And so he tries to help her.
Yeah.
And then here comes Otto running in because he cannot resist.
No, I was like, why are you fucking here?
I thought you were in a meeting.
Right. Yeah. It was your suggestion to be perhaps the princess can go do this thing that they had established at the start of the scene that he was going to do with Westerling.
Right.
So I was like, okay, this is dismissive and fuck you. But then he walks in with an opinion, and I'm like, die. When does he die?
Right.
Sarah, when does he die? I hate him so much.
Not refreshed myself on that because I kind of don't want to know.
Okay, cool. Don't look
Yeah.
it up for me. I was just kidding. I don't want to know either, but God, he has to go.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And as far as her choice is, on one hand, it makes a lot of sense that she wants somebody with some action on the King's Guard, and it's not unsmart because the first guy that they bring up, okay, he's a tourney knight and he brought in a poacher. Like, do you know what poachers are in medieval times? They're people who are starving and go in the woods and kill a deer that is the king's deer, and now they're poaching, you know?
God. Yeah.
So, okay, like some knight that guy is. So this guy does actually
He's a Republican. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Undoubtedly. I mean, did you see his face? So, but Kristen Cole does have some action. He got some action in the Dornish Marches, which is the area in front of the Red Mountains, which divides Dorne from the rest of the from the thing, and from Westeros, and that's important.
Okay.
But
now,
and I hate.
No, go ahead.
What I hate to do, though, is say that the most loathsome man in the world does make a point in that all these other men have allegiances. And to some degree, being put on the King's Guard is a hostage situation.
Gotcha.
Because they can't have children.
That's right.
Right. So these men are usually allied with great houses. You can see they have money, they have armor, they have squire, they have a banner. And Kristen Cole doesn't have that. So he is kind of a free agent.
He's like our Bronn.
Right. And as we can see with Bronn, their allegiances can change. So now, he's not incorrect.
So now I have been like, okay, well, first I want to say, because I don't want to forget this part, I thought it was interesting, though, for her to say, shouldn't my father be protected by someone with action? Like, it was kind of implying that he doesn't give a fuck if something happens to the father. And I don't know, that plays into my whole, you're going to marry this girl, you're going to have this man's grandson, and he's going to have you fucking killed to put his grandson in the fucking throne. Like, that's my prediction. I just feel like Viserys is not long for this world because he's an idiot. But, so that's how I kind of took that question. I was like, but again, I've seen Game of Thrones. So I'm absolutely watching this as someone who has seen Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
But the other thing to that, though, and I hadn't thought about this too, you just said about the whole not really having an allegiance. I have been wondering, like, where people would fall. Because when this shit went down with Robert's court, like, there was a lot riding on the allegiance of, was it the Gold Cloaks? Who was it that Littlefinger said he had?
For the City Watch
for Stark, right? But he really didn't, and all that. Right. So, like, I found myself watching this episode wondering, like, okay, when shit jumps off, who's going to go with who? I like the idea of Westerling being loyal to Rhaenyra, but someone like Kristen, I can't read yet. So it's interesting that you point out, because it feels like they're saying there would be something romantic between him and Rhaenyra, which makes me think, oh, you know, he would side with her. He would not let them try to take her throne from her. But, like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a problem. You know, he's young. He doesn't have that allegiance, whereas these other men do have allegiances. And I think it's interesting when you look down on them, none are particularly excited about being there, because being on the King's Guard is more of a forced situation. Right. So if you get somebody on there who is more of a, free vector, you are kind of counting on she thinks, you know, he's cute and he likes her and this is something she can count on. And in a way, that's kind of a naive decision, whether it turns out good or bad, in the same vein as Viserys makes decisions or Daemon makes decisions.
I thought it was interesting the way they focus on her using like that step stool, and then like when when it's his turn, she's like leaning on her elbows.
She's like, hey.
She was like invested. She was like Juliet in the fucking window or something.
Yeah.
Okay, girl, I see you. So then we get a private scene between the king and Alicent, and he is asking her for advice on talking to Rhaenyra because it's been 6 months and still things are kind of awkward. And she's like, you know, she won't come to me. She doesn't talk to me. And she's like, you could always go to her. And again, I'm just looking for signs of sabotage in this bitch, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, she's gonna sabotage their relationship. But no, she was like saying some pretty sound stuff. But then I was like, but that's what she wants you to think, right? Like she's look at me slandering this 15-year-old child being forced to go fuck this old man.
Well, at a certain point for me, it turned into her speaking in coded court language where she says, I'm sure she would open herself up to you if you went to her. Like, if you broached the subject, she could
throw up.
You know, right. She's like, you have an easy way about you, Your Grace. And that's all the right things that he's looking to hear from you. If you open this topic with me, I'm here.
Like, you, I'm sure Lady Laena will enjoy your company as I have. Like, oh,
exactly. And that's as far as she can be. That's as forward as she can be.
Now, let me ask you. Why is she doing this then? From right now, is it serious? Like, because okay, so her father. We talked about last week with her picking at her fingers, and we see it more this week, and then this week her father actually calls her on it, so it's something that he's been aware of, you know, why do you sully yourself like this, that type thing. Right. So, I'm assuming that that's because of him. Yeah. And this life at court, like you said, you know, never living anywhere else inside the Red Keep. And all the anxiety and shit that comes with being a 15-year-old girl in this world. Right. So, right now, she has to seal this deal. She's understood what's being asked of her, because if she doesn't, her father will be mad.
Right. I think the difference between her and Laena is 3 years of experience.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, do you think Corlys, I'm so glad you said that, do you think Corlys is then the same as Otto? He just went about it in according to, like, listen, and please let this just be like a blanket statement. I think if anybody is listening to us, if you especially been listening to Sarah and I podcast for years now, I hope this goes without saying that we're not in any way talking about marrying a 12-year-old girl. This is, in any way, shape, or form, that this is okay. Right. In this universe, this is a very nasty, even to the point where in this universe where this shit just happens, when he says she's young, the other guy's like, she'll mature. Even they know this is some bullshit. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it's gross. We get it. Okay, so in this situation, I think what we're supposed to see is two men clearly wanting more power than they have, or maybe in Corlys's case, trying to maintain the power that he has, because we learn later this shit with the crab feeder can beggar him, not the realm so much as, you know, his personal fortune, right?
Exactly. So,
all things considered, I think what we're supposed to think is that Corlys went about this the way you go about this. The way one goes about properly offering their 12-year-old child for marriage. He did it the right way. This is how you're supposed to do it, apparently. So, and I noticed everyone's reaction when we were watching it live was, as it should be, just utter horror and disgust, followed up with a lot of, oh my God, she's adorable. Like, because she is. You're like, run, baby girl, run.
She's so sweet.
Right? But everybody was still, by the end of the episode, Team Corlys and Daemon. My new ship, by the way.
Of course.
So, with that said, why is it different? Why do we still like Corlys? Isn't he just as bad as Otto?
Well, he's
worse.
I think
his daughter's 12. I don't know.
He's doing, as Rainey's points out, there is an order of things. This is the order of things in a Middle Ages world, in a medieval world. They are equal, essentially, even though they're not dragon riders. They are Valyrians as well, and she's the oldest lady in the house, quote, quote, and they offer her as a pawn in the game, and that's just what you do. It is what it is. It's just what you do.
So, yeah, because, even later she says, of course it bothers me. Like...
Right. But I gotta play the game.
Right.
And that's just how it is.
In this conversation with Alicent, the other thing is, like, he's like, you don't tell my daughter about this, and she looked a little hurt by that, like, because it's not the way I took it was, and maybe again I am romanticizing it too much for her because I want maybe her to not hate every bit of what she's about to have to do. Like maybe she thinks she's in love. So when he says, oh, well, do you tell Rhaenyra? Because please don't tell Rhaenyra. It looked like, like if you thought this was your boyfriend, but then he won't introduce you to his friends.
Yeah, I think, to me, I don't think that Alicent is in love with him. I think she gets along with him. She's been spending time with him every day for 6 months, or frequently for 6 months. Right. And when they're in private, they do get along. She has some kind of affinity with him. So it
just doesn't feel good to maybe have like this genuinely nice, pleasant thing to be kept a secret, maybe.
Right. Well, she's under pressure from her father to close the deal.
Yeah.
She knows what she's doing. She's doing as much as she can. And at the same time, she's terrified that she's betraying her only friend in the Red Keep.
Yeah.
And, Rhaenyra wouldn't really understand, or maybe she would, but she's certainly not going to understand, as we see, when it's sprung on her.
I wonder what he would have done if she said to him, I really don't want to do this. My father will kill me. Your Grace, please pick anybody else, but don't put me in. Like, don't tell, don't tell him I said this. Just be like, he'll have no choice but to live with it, but leave me out of it. I wonder what he would have done.
It does make you wonder what Otto would have done.
No, I wonder what Viserys would have done. Like, what would he have said to that?
Yeah.
If she confided in him.
I'm just saying, like, if it fails, if he chooses somebody else, whether she said something or he made a different decision, how does that affect Otto's relationship with Alicent?
He probably would have married her ass off to the best noble person he could find.
Yeah.
Because I don't know then how much use he would have for her at court.
For sure.
Right? Like, who else left is there for her to help?
Right.
For her to seduce, for him to get power, which is what I think his play is. As Daemon said, a second son who doesn't stand to inherit anything. He doesn't, claw out for himself. Okay, so Rhaenyra then confides in Alicent that, she's basically uneasy about him marrying someone else because it's only been 6 months. And this is where Alicent points out that her father loves her, he chose her, and Rhaenyra counters with, he didn't choose me, he spurned Daemon, and that's not the same.
Right. Yeah. I think it's interesting that she's like, you can't worry at the matters of lords and nobles. Well, that's exactly what the heir to the throne should worry about.
What do you think I'm supposed? She thinks you're supposed to pour the drinks. Just pour the drinks, sis. Pour the drinks. Right. they pray together. Well, she shows her this is Alicent shows Rhaenyra this is how she communicates with her mom. And I did like this where she was like, you say whatever you want. It's between you and the gods. I did like that. Like, all of this felt nice. And then Rhaenyra tells her, and she breaks down and she says, I just want him to see me, talking about her father. I just want him to see me as more than a little girl. And Alicent was like, girl, same. No. She was like, me too. I really wish your daddy would stop fucking around and make his move already.
And I think they're making a point here about even the prayer, that Rhaenyra is not good at praying because the Targaryens have historically, they, don't believe in the seven. Yeah. They have an understanding with the faith, and they created a loophole of exceptionalism to where the Targaryens are supported by the faith, and they can marry multiple times if needed, and they can marry within the family if needed, although the faith is not always happy about it. But they aren't particularly practicing. There is not a truly faithful practicing member of the Targaryen family until Baelor the Blessed, who is the one that built the sept that Cersei blows up.
Wait, so he hasn't come along yet?
No, he's like 100 years.
Okay. When do those raggedy ass Lannisters show up? Are they already here?
They're out there. Okay. They'll come into play.
Okay. I can't
later.
Wait. I can't wait. It's like, I can't, that casting. And I haven't heard anything, so I don't know if there are any Lannisters in this season, but I would imagine that now that we're getting a season 2, already know. I'm already like, what's going to happen. We're going to be freaking out. They've cast so-and-so Lannister. They've cast this person. Right. We're going down that fucking Westerosi rabbit hole again. Okay. So then what happens next? Sorry, I lost my notes. Okay, so then the king meets with Corlys and Rhaenys, and this is when Corlys is basically like, look, you look weak, son. Yeah. He's like, sorry about the shit in the council meeting the other day, but you're looking weak. If I can be frank, this doesn't look good. We propose that you marry Laena. And I was like, now, I knew there was a time jump, so my brain the math wasn't mathing for me.
Right.
So I remember that pretty little black girl in the first episode with the little white locks, and I was like, oh, she's so cute. And so when he said, marry our Laena, I knew that it was that little girl. But my brain was like, time jump. So I was just like, oh, she's young, but she's probably like Rhaenyra, and, my brain, 6 months wasn't mathing, is what I'm trying to say. I didn't remember that 6 months ain't no time at all. And that she's still a baby girl.
Right. That she was little.
So in this scene right here, I was not as repulsed as everybody else in the thread. I saw a few people
when it first came up.
Yes. It did not, and then you can tell it hit us all a few scenes later. Okay, so I'm going to rely on you here for this scene because I got to be honest with you, I didn't take no notes. The king has dinner with Rhaenyra, and it seems super awkward at first.
Yeah.
What of note happens in this conversation, if any?
He invites her to private dinner, which he's been eating with Alicent all the time, but didn't invite his own daughter to have dinner with him, apparently, until now. They're all sullen and quiet, and she broaches that they have not spoken that much, and he says, yes, we should be free to speak our minds to each other, and she's like, but you're the king, you could technically say anything you want, like you could have said anything this whole time. He admits that he is still very emotional about Emma, and he misses her, and he loves her. And that gives her kind of an opening to explain her choice with the Kingsguard.
Right.
And then now that they're talking a little bit more normally, but he doesn't go on, she starts to apologize about what happened earlier in the meeting, about interrupting. And he says, oh, don't, pay no mind. And she goes, well, I just thought that I might have a point. And then he's like, no, you're young, you'll learn. So he just cuts her off. He doesn't reassure her that maybe she did have a point or anything like that. He just doesn't want to hear about it. And then that's it. That's that.
It's this poor fool. It's gonna be so sad when them high towers kill him. When them high towers Lannister his ass, it's gonna be so fucking
But
sad.
will it be sad?
No, I don't. Because he's simple. So yeah, it's gonna be a little sad. So
That's
like, you're
true.
dumbass.
Yeah.
It didn't have to
He'll
go
be
like this.
What?
Me? Say it ain't
But
so.
I'm so nice.
Ugh. So then the king tells Otto and the maester while he's getting his maggot treatment. I was like, what are we doing? So this is, now I'm assuming this is from that cut he got 6 months ago after he banished.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
His
okay.
hand has turned into a whole, like, Dumbledore's Horcrux hand
Yes.
from touching the ring.
Yes.
And it's rotting up his arm. Not only his pinky, but it's like starting to spread.
I know.
It looks so
He looks like it's
nasty.
grayscale. I'm like, what the fuck? And this young girl's gonna marry him, have these babies. Are you crazy? But anyway.
Yes.
So while he's getting his little maggot manicure there, he tells them what Corlys suggested in the marriage of him and his daughter, and the maester doesn't mind it. Maester's like, on paper, it's like, look, she got Valyrian blood, she's the best Valyrian stock, but they're just so gross.
Right.
Family is rich and powerful, strength and ties, have the ship person on our side. He's just spitting facts. And she's young, she'll give you lots of babies, blah, 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 blah. And Otto was like, huh.
Right.
He overstepped. I was like, look at you talking your shit. I hate him.
It's so wild that he always accuses Corlys of overreaching when that's what he's doing.
Yes.
He's overreaching.
Yes.
Corlys is on the same level.
Right.
He's just reaching.
Yes. And he's trying to bring dumbass Viserys along. He's like, look, let me upgrade you. Let me help you.
Let me help you.
You dummy. This Valyrian blood, we gotta rule these stupid Westerosis. And your dumbass out here frolicking with Allison Hightowers and shit.
Right.
These are the peasants, stupid. Okay. So Otto's like, I don't envy you, my lord. And I'm like, shut up, or your grace, or whatever. So then we get the scene with him walking with Laena, and this sweet baby, all she wanted to talk about was dragons, and I was like, girl, same.
Dragon girl.
She was like, if I marry you, how many dragons do I get? I was like, girl, yes.
Yes.
Oh my God. I love that. I love that she was just like, this motherfucker rode the Black Dread. I'm going to pick his brain.
What was it like? And this is a kind of a critical point that we didn't really talk about last time, and that is not made particularly clear, that Viserys did ride Balerion one time.
Right.
Because he went in there, he was a young man, the most powerful, oldest dragon of the realm that Aegon the Conqueror rode, bowed to Viserys and allowed him on his back, didn't throw him off, rode him one time, gets off, and he's like, you know what? I'm good.
That dragon
And that
scared
is
the shit out of him.
Classic Viserys. He had a religious experience coming away like, you know what? These dragons are scary as fuck.
All right, so we had a bit of technical difficulties. We were talking about Precious Laena and the dragons, and you were reminding us that Viserys had only ridden the Black Dread, Baelor. No, Balerion. Who was Baelor? Oh, the religious thing. Yes.
Yeah.
The Septa Baelor. Okay. Balerion. Right. So she was like, what was that like? And I don't know. I pictured this little girl sitting around reading books. Just little Arya. Just wants to go on adventures. I just love the fact that she just really wanted to talk about these dragons.
Yes.
Oh, and you pointed out that after he rode him that one time, he came back. That's it. He's never ridden another dragon.
Right.
Did he have a dragon before that? I mean, he is Targaryen,
No.
so he didn't have one in his cradle and all that?
No, he bonded with Valerian, and then you don't really bond with another dragon.
It's kind of like in the Wheel of Time. With the, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
The women and those guys. Okay.
Yes.
So then she's like, what about Vhagar? So Vhagar is a kind of missing dragon?
Yeah, so
Too big to
Vhagar
fit in the dragon pit?
is Visenia's dragon. So that was Aegon the First's, one of his sisters.
One of the sisters that conquered, right.
Right, so Vhagar is the biggest dragon in the realm, and so she is too big for the dragon pit, so she's kind of just gone off and made a little nest out in the islands somewhere.
So is she technically the oldest left?
Yes.
Right, okay.
But I think she was born after they had left Valyria.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, she's like, what about Vhagar? And then, like, she remembers why she's there. So she's like, Your Grace. And she, like, basically, the proposal her dad told her to say, this precious, sweet child delivering these lines. I was like, somebody take this baby home.
Right.
And he's like, did your daddy tell you to say that? What did your mommy tell you to say? She said I wouldn't have to bed you until I'm 14. I will say, I'm just so glad he was just like, no, not even for me, no.
He's just he's trying to make it work in a business sense in his mind. Right. He's just like, I can't do this.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, that's the whole, like, it's, it's so wrong. Yeah. So Rhaenyra as she watches this little walk conversation with Laena and her dad, and she talks with Rhaenys afterwards. We kind of talked about this before, where Rhaenys is basically giving her the hard truth that no matter what, like, whatever you think is going to happen, they're not going to let you take that throne.
Yeah.
The men would rather burn this shit to the ground. And listen, as somebody who voted in the 2016 election, I can tell you that is absolutely true.
100% true.
Absolutely.
Still true.
Still true, sis. Still true. Trying to tell you. And that's
there's
what I'm
like
telling
one
you.
Of those joke articles out there that it's like the 2148 presidential election. It's like, sorry to say, I found something wrong with the woman candidate again. Maybe next time.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, exactly. Just not. She's like, it's just not going to happen. And I'm telling you, this is where Rhaenyra, I just would have killed his ass. Blamed her on one of them things, one of them infections, something. Because sis.
Yeah. And on one hand, Rhaenys is correct. She does see the order of things, and she smells which way, the wind is blowing here. She has, but also, like a lot of older women do, or women in general whose political power is determined by the male, at least proximity. In their perception.
Yeah.
They have some investment in maintaining the status quo. So as long as Rhaenyra does not ascend the throne, Rhaenys can, in a way, comfort herself that it wasn't just her.
Right.
Which Rhaenyra makes a point to say, well, that was you.
That was you.
And I'm different.
I'm different. But are you, sis? Are you?
I think.
Because Allison is about to spit out this little Aryan-looking child. Honey. She's about to spit out a Targaryen, honey. There were no Howard... in that upcoming scenes, there were no Hightower genes to be seen in that little boy.
Right.
So...
But before we leave this area, one last point about Vhagar. It's interesting that, or it's not necessarily interesting, but it's the reason not only that she would be interested in Vhagar, that Laena would be interested in Vhagar, from like a dragon sense, just because she's just freaking cool.
Right.
But Viserys and Daemon's father also rode Vhagar.
Oh.
And their mother rode Meleys, the Red Queen.
The Red.
And her mother, Rhaenys, is the rider now of Meleys.
Right. I knew that, the red one. I cannot wait to see that dragon.
So Vhagar is kind of the missing part of that little equation that has followed their family through.
Yeah. Oh my God. We got to see Vhagar. I have been avoiding.
Oh, we will.
Oh my God, I'm going to throw up. Oh. That's like, listen, you guys don't understand how much I love dragons.
You will really throw up when you find out who the rider is.
Oh my fucking Christ. Okay. But oh my God, I'm going to die. So here's the thing. I was thinking about this, like when he announced that he's going to marry Homegirl at the end. I was like, I feel so bad for all the dragons that are about to die because of this foolishness.
Literally.
Fuck the people. I cannot believe we're about to lose so many of these beautiful dragons because you motherfuckers don't know how to act. Because this idiot over here. Oh.
Right.
Okay. All right. So, oh my God, I'm so excited. Why'd you say that? I'm going to die. Okay. So, so the king tells Alicent he's considering marrying Laena, and she's like, oh, I'm sure she'll be good and kind because, a good and kind queen, I think earlier she says, would put the realm at ease or whatever, or comfort the realm. And she replaces the stone dragon that broke in their earlier conversation. She had the stone masters repair it.
Right.
And I was like, done deal, sis. Done. You, congratulations. Oh, yeah. You have the final rose. Congratulations.
This little dragon is so symbolic. He's got it earlier in their conversation talking about how he thinks that the glory of old Valyria is gone forever, and then literally drops the dragon out of his hands. His family's glory is slipping through his hands, falling on the floor, breaking. Mm-hmm. And then she picks it up and has it repaired, which I think is, if you look at the gesture, sure, it is a sweet gesture that she took it and did that herself. That was a great play. But overall, he's not building this model. She didn't repair the dragon, they're all going behind to the stone mace. Okay, sure, this is your present.
Yes.
They wouldn't have glued the dragon back together for the king,
when he asked tomorrow, right?
Exactly.
But it's interesting that, it is kind of foreshadowing that him dropping the ball, about to ruin the Targaryen dynasty. She's like, no, here, I can put it all back together. I can give you so many young dragons. And
and when he's staring at that at his desk, that's exactly what he's thinking.
Ugh, idiot. So they call an emergency session of the small council. This is what interrupts the king's conversation with Alicent. Otto announces, because Daemon done stole an egg.
He got tired of sitting out there waiting for his brother to come
to notice him. Yes.
He's like, well, all right, fine.
I'm gonna go take a dragon egg. So, Rhaenyra asks specifically which one did he take, and he took the egg that Emma had mentioned this in the first episode, that Rhaenyra had already picked out a dragon egg for the baby.
Right.
And even a name for the baby. I think Visenya, if it was going to be a girl. So, she was very attached to this egg being, specifically for her sibling, and Daemon took that one. That's the egg.
Right.
Which I don't think he knew, right?
I think...
how would he know that that's the one?
Oh, he knew.
Even 6 months later, you think?
Oh, yeah.
He's such an asshole.
For sure. He knew that it was that egg And that's exactly why he did it. Not only to provoke Viserys, but also Rhaenyra.
Oh my god.
And the whole thing had me
Just how
screaming that he left this petty ass note.
that he's getting married, yeah.
Yes, and invites him to the wedding
Yeah.
in 2 days like this. Bitch, it was so good.
And that's when the one guy was like, this is sedition. It's like, what the
That.
fuck
And meanwhile,
is-
here's Beesbury. It's like, Gods be good.
Yes. He was so
Go.
he was so disgraced. And they were like, who is Lady Missaria? And somebody tried to like put some respect on her name, and Otto, that's his whore. That guy was so there was like, what's his name? Do you remember when fucking who was the maester? Pycelle?
Myself.
When he was like in one meeting and somebody like talked about something like with the whore, something with Tyrion, and he was like, well, I never. And we're like, oh, shut up, you fucking liar. Let me find out this old dude has whores in his room and he's doing squats like Pycelle did.
Oh my god.
So as they decide that Otto decides he's going to go confront Daemon and get this egg back. And as he's preparing to leave, this is when he grips up his daughter and, you know, kind of shames her for the habit she has and asks if she's going to say the king tonight, if you wish it. But then this is interrupted by Kristen Cole, who's going to accompany the Hand to this meeting.
Right.
On Dragon's.
Her finger picking and anxiety is reaching a fever pitch because there's blood like dripping down her cuticles.
I wonder if we'll see in the time jump if she still does that.
Yeah.
Just
That
very
would be
curious.
an interesting character trait to carry over.
Mm-hmm. This kind of reminded me when she was like, please look after the Hand, Sir Christian, or Sir Cole, whatever. I was like, this kind of reminded me of when Sansa was basically like low-key telling Joffrey to go die at the Battle of the Blackwater. Where it's like she didn't really want him to come back. Or I low-key was I think she was hoping Daemon killed her dad.
I do think that she was making it pretty clear that she was not happy in that situation, but she was still saying all the right things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But she thought he was being stupid even.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, she has no place to say that.
Right. It's, their relationship is also going to be interesting once she's queen, too.
For sure, because Otto cannot remove his fingers from the pie.
No. And that's going to be interesting. So to Dragonstone, okay, I've said this the whole time. Like, this walk up to Dragonstone is fucking ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Oh my God.
It's way too long. It's ridiculous. However, I don't remember what it looked like when we saw it in Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this, and I get it's like a different time because this is like Dragonstone at its, best.
Yeah,
I would
peak.
assume. It's
Yeah.
right. What they made it look bigger in the sense that it, like, you literally felt like you were in the clouds. So the walking up felt less ridiculous. Like, I distinctly remember when John and, oh my God, why am I forgetting his name? The Onion Knight.
Varys, oh yeah, sure.
What's the Onion Knight's name? I don't remember his.
I don't know.
Okay. Goodness gracious. The fact that I remember Davos, thank you, Sir Davos. The fact that I fucking remembered Onion Knight is killing me. Like, where the fuck did that come from? But anyway, they're walking up that long thing. It just felt so ridiculous because you're just aware of it, right? You're just like, This is not. Who does this, right? But then you realize the Targaryens don't need to do that because they have dragons.
Because they have dragons,
as you see later. But I will say that here, again, it felt less ridiculous because this was shot like it was in the clouds. Like, I felt like I could not tell you where solid ground other than this bridge was, because it just felt like this thing was up in the clouds. It felt scary as fuck. Just bravo to that set piece. That whole, everything about this was gorgeous.
Yes, I think it was meant to be like they had the conversation late afternoon, and he prepared at night. They sailed through the night, and they're arriving at sunrise. So there's this mist that divides the castle from essentially the rest of the world. So
it looked fantastic.
The fog is still rising off the ocean.
It looked amazing.
It was ethereal.
So when they meet up here, Otto basically calls this woman like 4 different types of whores. He was just like, I was offended. I was like, you call this woman a whore one more time.
Right?
What the fuck is you?
Otto takes the exact wrong tact with Daemon every time.
Every goddamn time.
He just cannot fucking help himself as far as provoking him. He thinks he's going to provoke him and shame him into doing the right thing, like he's able to do with everybody else at court, forgetting that Daemon doesn't play by those rules.
He ain't everybody else. And I cannot. Oh my god! I hope Daemon kills him. Oh, I will not spoil myself. Okay, so then Bloodworm shows up.
Yes.
Listen. Okay, first of all, you did not tell me that this fucking thing sounds like a fucking engine, like a jet engine whining. It's so screechy. It was like he says something smart for like the 5th time about this woman dying, and swords came out, and then you hear this screeching, and it was like that dragon was like, what? Like, I thought a bitch named Otto said something. Like, I know.
Yes.
I know this bitch ain't talking shit in my house.
Right. You said, what?
Yes.
Who's done?
Oh, my God.
That's the screaming. When he started up with the screaming. And Daemon's expression never changes.
Never. Mm-mm.
It was just, and the men all suddenly, the whole jokey thing where he calls Kristen Sir Crispin.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, really? Well, I think you remembered my name when I knocked you off the horse, you know? And Daemon's like, oh, haha.
Uh-huh.
And which is really what you have to do to get Daemon's attention.
Mm-hmm.
Is show a little strength and a little sense of humor and challenge him a little bit.
Yep.
And then Caraxes comes into the conversation, and suddenly the whole tone changes, and you just have to wonder, what was the plan here?
What was the play? What did you think was going to happen? And it kills me that every time in both these series so far, when you fuck with somebody with a dragon, they're always surprised when a dragon show up. They're always like, holy shit, there's a dragon. It's like, where did you... What, you think they walk up this 50-mile bridge every day to get home? No, they got dragons, stupid.
They're on Dragonstone.
Oh my god, this screechy ass dragon scared the shit out of me. And then he lands and screeches some more. It was like, you know, he was like, it smelled like bitch in here.
Yes. He gives him a real good open mouth screech.
Yes.
With the strings of spit flying everywhere.
And then he was like, sheathe your fucking steel. I was like, what? Yes, stupid. Sheathe this. What are you doing? What was the plan? And then this is when I said in the thread, I was like, this is scary. Because then you hear another dragon and I'm like, who else got a dragon that's here? Like, I completely forgotten that Rhaenyra wanted to be a part of this. I was not expecting her to show up, honestly. I didn't know how this was going to end, but I was not expecting her to show up. And
This whole entry
oh,
was so beautiful. I did not see it on the original screen because it was so small, but watching it on the big screen and
Yes.
seeing the dragon billow up
Yes.
out of the fog.
Mm-hmm.
And Caraxes is like cooing at her. He seems so excited to see
a friend,
Syrax.
somebody. Yes. It was so sweet. And it wasn't like this dragon was here to protect this side. No, it was, this is her Uber. He's going to chill here. And this is like she said, don't make no sudden moves, because Syrax takes me my personal safety seriously, right? She takes that shit personally. I gotta go talk to my uncle. And he tried to send her back. And I was like, dude, shut up and let this woman work, okay?
Yes.
Because you was about to get flame broiled, dummy.
Right. You lost power in the equation. It's over. And I love that that Daemon, when she lands, he kind of like wraps his arms around the egg.
Yes.
Like it's like his emotional support egg or something like that.
There were several, I thought, very doctor moments here.
Yes.
And there was when she goes, you're having a child, and the way he looks over his shoulder at her before he comes back, he says, one day. That was so 11th Doctor. I don't care what anybody says.
It is, because he recognizes, like, he doesn't even have to admit that he was lying the whole time.
No.
But he just can't resist admitting, because he's so pleased she figured it out.
Yes. Yes. He's bored. He is bored with it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love it.
All he wanted was for somebody to come over and play.
And talk to him, yes. Mm-hmm. So, so she's like, give me back my shit and either kill me or shut the fuck up. Just stop playing. And he tossed that fucking egg to her like the petty bitch he is. But with so much confidence that she'd catch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her little speech to him, and it's been pointed out on Twitter, and I just screamed, where she says, here I am, the object of your ire. And it's so much like the Bridgerton, thing where you're like, you're the bane of my existence and the object of my desire.
Yes, yes.
And I think we can all agree there was definite chemistry here, and he just loves it.
Yes. My one thing I feel like, I hope, like when these lines are drawn and sides are picked, they have to be on the same side, right? Like, they have to be. They have to be. If they're not,
Clearly.
I will not watch the show anymore. Let me stop lying. So then she gives them the fucking egg, and she gets back on her fucking dragon and leaves. And I'm like, she just made you look stupid, and she didn't have to walk. Oh, now you gotta walk back carrying that fucking egg on a crock pot. How long is it gonna take?
Enjoy that.
How stupid must you feel in all that fucking armor? You gotta walk all the way.
You gotta go all the way down there, get on your boat, 12 hours.
With the dragon egg. And she's gonna be home and bathed and napped by the time you get there. Oh, made you look stupid. Yeah, that was just beautiful, and I'm happy to we got some dragon action in this episode, because I wasn't sure we would. So back in the castle in Dragonstone, Mysaria is like, I ain't agree to this shit. And so what we learn here is that I'm assuming she says that she ensured that she can't have children, right?
Right.
And she's like, I don't want shit from you but to be liberated. I'm with you to be liberated from fear. And she points out that he puts her life in danger when he names her as a Targaryen bride and, possibly giving birth to Targaryen heirs and, stealing these eggs. And like, she's like, I'm not here with the shits. I'm not here for this, You put, because he won't kill you, but he would kill me. Like, stop
Right.
playing games. She's like, they will shave my ass, okay?
Yes. Yeah, she's not there to play his games. She's there to disappear behind him
Mm-hmm.
and wield whatever power she eventually wields. She's supposed to be, they don't really say whether she used herbs or some kind of blood magic or whatever to
I
make
was gonna
herself
ask
sterile.
about that. Yeah.
But and in the book, it is implied or stated that she was pregnant and that she lost the baby in a storm. But that, again, that could be an unreliable narrator situation, and that in the reality that they have put forth in this show, that he was just using her as a pawn, not understanding that she had no interest in
Right.
ever even being married to him.
Right,
She just
right.
wants to be his paramour
Right.
and move pieces behind
Right.
the stage.
So, I don't know if we mentioned this, but I haven't read Fire and Blood, but my understanding is not even like a novel, right?
Right.
Like, it's like accounts, stories.
It's like a history book. Yeah.
Right, of the Targaryen. Okay, yeah. And so so when you say like unreliable narrator and stuff, it's
Mm-hmm.
because it's not like, it's not like George R. R. Martin just telling us this story and this is what happened and this is what so-and-so said, but this is what some people believe. This is just like supposed to be a historical account of, and all the inaccuracies that may come with that.
Right. The framework is that it is from 3 or 4 writers, like the Maesters at the time.
Right. Okay.
So-
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Is it like, almost like kind of found footage type stuff? Like, these are the
Exactly.
journals of this maester and these were found in this library. Okay.
100%. And one of the narrators, quote, is
Mm-hmm.
this court jester named Mushroom, who is like, like Patchface, like, a bunch of the other types there. His accounts are particularly salacious, so you have to assume that maybe he was there and he saw some shit that a maester wouldn't talk about, but also maybe he's just pulling it out of his ass.
Right. Okay.
So
So then the king goes to someone else on the council. Who is this? Is this Strong?
yeah, it's Lionel Strong.
Strong, right. For some unencumbered advice, I think is how he called it. And I was like, I like this guy because he was like, look, it makes sense. And, he's a proud man and he has probably more reason than most, definitely others on the council, I would imagine, to be a proud man, right? Again, because it's not like he's like some lowly Westerosi lord, right? So, like, appease him, strengthen your line of succession, strengthen this relationship, strengthen your military might and your the reputation of Westeros. Like, all, it makes sense. He's like, but she's young. He's like, she'll mature, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what are you, pervert? You want to do something now? You're gonna wait anyway. Just, he's like, what is the problem? What's
got
the
2 or 3 years.
Yeah. This motherfucker, this was
you got
all sound
something
advice.
else to do. Yeah.
And now I don't know this guy's like background. I don't know if I'm supposed to trust him. I don't know. But like the maester, I think it was the maester. They were like, what's to consider? This makes sense.
This is the facts.
Right.
Yeah.
This is we would have preferred your wife live a long life and give you lots of sons and the baby to live, but that's not what happened. This is what we got to do. This big dummy go off and anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right. I do like him a lot. I love that Lionel Strong is typically there just shoring up something that makes sense, and his son actually comes into play later, but he's fairly trustworthy, and it's just like his big mistake is making sense.
Right. Because he don't want to hear sense. He wants to hear what he wants to hear and be told it's okay to do the weak thing, the stupid thing, the short-sighted thing.
Exactly. He wants to make a decision with his emotions. He doesn't want to make a decision that necessarily makes sense. And he's just like, well, you don't understand. You know?
So then he tries to, King Viserys tries to chastise his daughter, but she's like, but I was right.
He is such a big wiener.
He really is.
mean, he lasts. I should have set a timer. Once he lays into her, it's like 15 seconds before he cracks.
Absolutely.
She's like, well,
because it's not what he wanted, and it worked.
Right.
Exactly.
And then he immediately slumps over in his chair and starts chuckling.
Yes.
Because he loves this shit.
Yes.
He thinks it's so funny.
Yep. He's the worst. He's the worst.
It's terrible.
When those high towers kill him, Lord, it's going to be funny. So they finally talk, though, when he opens up about missing Emma, and she's like, I'm so glad to finally hear you talk like a grieving fucking husband and father.
Yeah.
Weak chin motherfucker. No, that's not what she said. But that's what she was thinking. And she was like, because, I miss her too. And, that's the thing. It's like, unfortunately, I get the impression that she meant it when she told Rhaenys, like, just like Daenerys said, it reminded me a lot of that whole, I will reshape, break the wheel or whatever, right?
Right.
When she says she will set a new way in motion. And I believe that that's what she believes. But, like, here, when she's like, if you had just mourned with me, like a normal parent for 6 months, I believe that she would have been more at ease with this decision, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that it's Allison. No. I think it was always going to be a problem because it's Allison. I don't know what this motherfucker was thinking. But beyond that, though, I do believe that she would have, if he had picked, I don't know. It's weird because then how do you look at your dad when he's engaged to a 12-year-old?
I think that there is some benefit to her in, if he picks Laena, because that automatically buys Rhaenyra 2 years to come to peace with it.
Yeah. And she would probably build a relationship with her. And
right. They could be friends, which they are in the books.
Yeah.
They're friends.
Yeah. And it's
because
so
they're
not
equal age and whatever. Yeah. Right. So she would work through it.
Right. But this was her friend first. And it's essentially taking that from her as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas at least the other one gave her a friendship, if that makes sense. I don't know. Again, we are trying to make sense of a really barbaric, disgusting sexist practice.
Yes.
They finally talk, and oh my God, I'm going to take a screenshot of this. My notes. I have, they finally talk, she understands, and then I just have, he's such a weak man. Just writing shit to myself, like, oh, I hate him.
Already telegraphing his decision by saying, I don't want to make us estranged.
Yes.
She thinks that it's because of this whole situation.
The whole thing, generally,
not understanding that there's a specific reason.
Which is so manipulative of him. So fucking manipulative, because later you can bet your fucking ass he's going to be like, you said you understood. Yep.
Right.
It was like, motherfucker, that is not what I was understanding. Okay?
Right.
That was not.
He finally tells people, he stops telling people the information they need to make the decision.
Yes.
He only tells them enough information to get the answer he wants.
Right. And in the case of like, you know what, I guess I don't want to know. And again, the book, the show could always do something different, but I was thinking about this. I wonder if she's gonna ever know how her mother died exactly. Like, does she think that her mother just died in childbirth and the baby died soon after? Or does she understand that they cut her open, that she died screaming and in pain and afraid and had no say in what was happening to her?
That would be 100% up to the show, because in the book all it says is Emma died in childbirth. It doesn't say anything beyond that.
Okay.
So,
because I don't know. that would shape again. But again, I feel like even if she knew that, she would be forced to swallow that as the way things are, the hard decision a king has to make. So I don't even know if it's worth getting into, because that wouldn't. Right. He would. It's not like it. It wouldn't do anything for her character, I don't think. But for his, it would just be another thing for him to make an excuse and put himself as the victim, and to say, you know, that's the tough choice a king has to make. You don't know that type of bullshit.
I think they have enough material to be estranged.
Okay, so the announcement. What was so fucked up about this was the way Rhaenyra was so supportive in her face and her body language to help him get through this announcement.
Yes.
And I love that it would have been very easy for her to only realize something was wrong when he looked over at Alicent. But she realized it before that, because she was being so supportive with her face, like, you can do this, and all he was giving back was, I'm gonna shit my pants. And he was looking at her specifically, and you could see her go from, you can do this, to like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Say you're gonna marry this 12-year-old, Dad? Right, like, what the fuck is the problem? And it's when he then looks at her, that at Alicent, that she gets that he's not going to do what I thought he was going to do, and he's doing it with her. And I love how Corlys absolutely don't be giving a fuck that this is the king.
Right.
This is an absurdity.
And Otto cannot restrain himself.
No, he can't. When does he die, Sarah?
Irks and looks down like, checkmate. Like, or why did you have to do that? Why?
Just a little,
like, what is your big plan when the Stepstones leave the Union?
Yeah. Because that does lead us to... Now, quick question. Did Alicent knew, right?
I have to believe that she knew, because she was in the room and she hadn't been in any other situation.
Yes.
That said, it was a choice not to show them broaching the topic. I mean, you have to imagine that the king negotiated with Otto in some way, but maybe he didn't. I really don't know.
I would say that he didn't, only because, again, it is very much like him to skip the hard conversations. This is absolutely a situation in which he would have just been like, well, I'm the king and I didn't need to come to you for permission first.
You know?
Just know, because he's scared, but scared to go to him.
You're 100% correct.
You know? Oh, bitch ass.
I bet he didn't talk to her at all.
I wonder, too, if... because, again, there's a time jump, right? And for the next episode. And, again, we see that there is at least one child born. I think from the trailers, the Otto is like, Aegon will be king. And at first I was like, who the fuck is Aegon? And then I was like, oh, this bitch done went and had a baby. And then they showed the little, like I said, little Aryan look. I was like, okay, I see you. She gave him a Targaryen. Okay. But I wondered if they don't want to show him being particularly any kind of romantic, sexual with this young actress. Because I think any kind of conversation alone between the two of them about marriage, you would expect to have some sort of affection, if at the very least the two of them finally acknowledging what we're just all has been suspecting brewing. But I don't know how that would look. That said, we just saw him take a leisurely stroll with a 12-year-old. Although I will say that I thought that was written very wonderfully. As much as you can, presenting something like that where he seemed appropriately grossed out and Jesus,
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. And she seemed completely like a 12-year-old who was just like, she treated that like, I would imagine, anything like in a society where you just know, like, countries that have conscription, you know?
Yes.
For
Yeah.
like boys, where it's like at 12 years old, you know, you're going to go into the military. You have no idea if your country's going to be at war at that time. You don't know, you know what I mean? But you just know that's a part of your life. And you don't even think about whether or not it's something you want for yourself because you're going to get it anyway. And I feel like, so at 12, she probably looked at that as, I got a few years before I have to worry about that nasty sex stuff. You know, poor baby. She's like, I want to talk to this motherfucker about dragons. Because he wrote the Black Dread. So I feel like it was written in a way that made you feel as, you felt as uncomfortable as you should, but you could also watch it and still, you know, enjoy the story of what's going on and just pray for it to end.
Yes.
So we get my new ship. What I was the time jump thing. So I wondered too, like, now we don't have to see them making babies. Now they're just already parents.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. So I'm wondering,
yeah, you can
like,
just skip that whole part.
I feel like I wonder if we're just not going to get a lot of that from them until she's Emma Cook, that actress. Okay. So then we go to my new ship, which is Corlys, who stormed out of that meeting, and apparently he summoned Daemon to Driftmark. Which I don't think I got the first time I watched the scene. I thought we were just in Dragonstone because it looked dark and dank and depressing.
Right. Well, they're both, you know, islandy.
Yeah.
So.
They're both like these fucking huge castles on a little island in the middle of the raging ocean at night. Just terrifying. But he basically proposes. Now, this was interesting because, like, the first time I got it, I was like, okay, this is clearly... he has to be proposing something like, I'll give you this for if you do this, right? But I don't feel like I got a lot of what Corlys is giving in this. We get what he's getting, and he talks about, again, not just the realm being beggared by the stepstones being taken over, but his personal wealth, right? Yeah. And he sells it to Daemon as, go out there and make a name for yourself. So the first time I watched this, I was like, why would Daemon do this? But then I really listened, and I was like, okay, because at this point, you've been playing house on Dragonstone for 6 months. Your homegirl just told you she ain't having no babies. She ain't interested in being a Targaryen. She ain't interested in none of that shit.
Right. And
your brother is paying you dust. Like, he's saying... you can go out there, clean up this problem for me. It benefits the realm because your brother's too weak to fucking do it. And make a name for yourself. I get that, but I'm curious what Corlys is saying. And if you, like, or is he just proposing the idea? Like, you should go do this. And Daemon is so desperate to go and make that name for himself, he's not going to ask necessarily what Corlys gets out of it beyond saving the stepstones. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like program save Viserys from himself, so, you know, and we can team up together and do this. This is going to give you the action that you're craving.
Right. Okay.
And maybe the attention that you are also craving. And if you can get this done, if we can get this done together, then that's going to bind us closer together, and also you can win your way back into court.
Okay.
Which is really what he wants.
Okay. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I just can't wait because we saw dragons next week. Or a dragon. I'm assuming it's Caraxes. Say it for me.
Caraxes.
I'm assuming it's him.
I guess they're going to go out there with Caraxes and kick some
Does
butt.
Corlys have a dragon?
Corlys is not a dragon rider,
Okay.
but Rhaenys is.
Yeah,
Meleys is
his
still
wife,
around.
right? The red
Mhm.
dragon. I cannot wait. I'm so excited to see that dragon.
And really, they're right there together, you know. Dragonstone and Driftmark are just an island apart.
Okay.
So they're kind of neighbors.
So you probably can't tell me this, but how many, you can tell me this. How many kids do Rhaenys and Corlys have?
2.
So
they
just those
have
two.
Laena and Laenor. Yeah.
Okay. Because there's a photo, I think I tweeted it, and it's clearly from the time jump, where it's the couple and then the two of them, the 2 kids older,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm assuming that the kids from the first episode, the tournament. But there's also another guy, a black guy, like off to the left, but I don't think he has white hair. So I was just wondering. Okay, so the thing you probably can't tell me then is her kids, Rhaenys' kids, Laena,
Mm-hmm.
and what's his name?
Laenor.
They don't even try.
Not super original.
Laenor. They have Targaryen blood, obviously, because of Rhaenys. But also, Valerians, they don't necessarily... Corlys doesn't have Targaryen blood. Right?
Right.
His hair is just gray because he's old.
Well, he's got white hair because he's Valyrian.
Valyrian. Okay,
yeah.
got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do their kids have dragons? I just want to know what the dragons.
They do.
Jesus Christ.
Not yet, but
Not
they
yet.
will.
Okay. So now, is this a case of, did they have dragons in their cradle too? I'm just like fascinated by this whole. Okay. But so they're of the whole, when they get a certain age, they get to pick?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's just kind of
like you get
like a dare thing.
Like how all you white folks get ponies.
Right. You can go to where the dragons are and see if one will accept you.
What if one sets you on fire? I guess that's a no.
I mean, it happens.
What if this is how you find out you're illegitimate? Your dragon is like, you don't pass the sniff test over here.
Dragons will accept, because of the blood magic, which they kind of brought up when he was talking about his city map, and he brought up this new Anogrion concept. That's not something that's it's not mentioned in the book, but maybe something that George introduced here, as he's wont to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the mages practice blood magic. And they've always said that the reason that the Targaryens bonded with the dragon is maybe there is some blood mixing here. Mm. And so he kind of implies that. So dragons will accept half Targaryens.
Right. Like what's
sometimes
his face?
Quarter Targaryens. So it's just, you got to have a little Targaryen in you.
Not me calling John what's his face. Yeah, like what's his face? Yeah, I couldn't remember his name.
that guy.
That guy. All right, so we got some feedback. One is from. Oh wait, first I want to read. Mimi had left feedback last week, but it was just like a little bit too late, and I felt bad. So I told her I would read it this week. Hello, Nina and all. Oh wow, it's so fun seeing all my favorite TV podcasts covering this. Feels like a reunion. I would have been bereft if y'all hadn't. Listen. Like, I think everybody is so just podcasters anyway, especially those of us that did Game of Thrones. We're just so happy it's good. Mm-hmm. We're so happy to talk about this every week and have it be good. I won't go into it, but I'm still salty over the Game of Thrones finale, and it's not because Dany was a meanie. Same. My first reaction to Hot D's premiere, however, was, you damn son of a bitches, I'm in. Great casting, a cohesive look, and world building that seems really confident. Absolutely. They were just so many pops of cool stuff. There was just so many pops of cool stuff. The individual qualities of the dragons, awesome casting, great filming. My favorite mini shot was Daemon getting dragged down the jousting rail. Yeah. Holy crap. Can't wait to see how they portray Kristen Cole, since there was a lot of ambiguity in the novella. Ah, good to know. Otto Hightower is giving me more Pimp Master Littlefinger vibes than coldly charismatic Tywin ones, though. The only thing that reminds me of Tywin, obviously, is clearly like his proximity to the power, right? Yeah. That he's already kind of wielding some of it. And then, you know, obviously his willingness to, you know, sell his daughter or push his daughter off on the king. Mm. But then the kind of arrogance to, like you said, like he can't resist just being a dick and provoking. But the note writing, I'm still curious when he sent that note last week. Like that little thing made me feel like, okay, this is somebody who is clearly thinking a few steps ahead. And he was, you know what it was? He was sending for more of his wife's dresses.
Yeah, because there's only the one.
Right? Like, get some more of my dead wife's stuff out of storage. The more hoey, the better, please. I'm so here. This is still Mimi. I'm so here for more House Valerian. Valerian. I want to make sure I'm saying it right because there's...
That's right.
Valerian. Okay. Give me all the scenes of Corlys and Rhaenys bitching together at sporting events. Someone pointed out online the difference between the jousting scene in this first episode and the one in the first season of Game of Thrones. They were like, Robert was broke as fuck.
He was busted.
The whole set is so... I did not remember it looking so raggedy. It literally was just like some wooden stairs.
It was like out in somebody's backyard with no grass, you know?
It was so bad.
Tragic.
And we didn't know better. Well, at least I didn't. I didn't know how it used to be. I was like, the Targaryens were not playing around. Anyway. I guess if Daemon likes you, you get to pet his dragon. I love how much personality Syraxes has. He's like a grumpy husky. Except he, like, screeches, and I love it. And I love how individual the dragons look so far. The premiere made me really happy. It was so much fun frolicking in the fandom again. Can't wait for your continuing coverage. Mimi. Thank you, Mimi. Okay, so for this week, we have Ty, who said, hey, Nina and Sarah. As I posted on the group page, the shit is hitting the fan. Here's some thoughts. Viserys' ass is way too old for Laena. She's adorable, by the way. She's supposed to be 12. She looks younger. Yeah, I was trying to, like, when I rewatched it, I was trying to see, like, what I feel like size-wise, I think because of the dress and everything, she looked smaller.
Yeah.
Than I think 12. But then again, I don't know. I have a teenage boy who's, like, all tall, you know, limbs and stuff.
Right.
So, but yeah, the hair doesn't help because it feels like her hair is too big for her body, her clothes, so, you know, she did seem really, really small.
Yeah, I guessed that she was like 8. But I mean, I don't know how old the actress is, but you do have to assume that they're hiring actors who are a little bit older than they are playing. Now, the girls are played by 20-something-year-olds, but I assume that Laena, the actress, is probably like 12 or even 14. You know, because if you hire an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old, they're going to look like they're 6 on the screen. Yeah.
And hopefully, I mean, again, some of that dialogue was a little, you know, you don't... The older, the better. Yeah. I will give you many children. I was like, oh, God.
No child needs to say that speech.
Right. I'm glad he said no to a very child bride. I don't know how to feel about Alicent. Is she as ambitious to be queen, produce an heir, or just following Pimp Daddy's orders? Cheesing like a Cheshire cat at the news of the impending wedding. Oh, God, I hope we get a poisoned wedding. That would be lovely. Can we kill the hand at the wedding?
Somebody needs to have a poison wedding.
Right? Rhaenyra is a badass, in control and in charge. The way she handled business at Dragonstone, etc. I hate to admit it, you guys, but a couple of times when I was rewatching this and I was taking notes, I would start to write Dany when I wanted to write her name.
It was a very Dany move. And she even had like a Dany type coat on.
Yeah, she did.
With the scales on the epaulets.
Yeah. And I like stuff like that because, yes, it is, a kind of nod and familiar for those of us who love the character and love the show. But I like that how it shows how certain things are passed down without even like realizing it, if that makes sense.
Right.
Not really. Yeah. The stories and stuff that she was told about the Targaryens and stuff when they were living over, where was it? Not Essos. Where was she living in the beginning with her brother when they were about to? Anyway, somewhere in the freezers. But anyway, like
Lemon Tree House.
Yes. So, but I would imagine that she probably did see, sketches and things of that nature from the past and modeled her look after,
right.
Like when she did the, oh God, what was it? Something, I thought she had something made for Tyrion. Oh, like she didn't know what the hand thing looked like. The symbol that you, yeah. She's like, I hope this is right. That type of thing. Anyway, Daemon Corlys interaction was great. At first I thought he was talking to Rhaenys. Or no, Rhaenyra. When Daemon reprimanded him not to speak bad about Viserys as he had previously done, Corlys should have given him the Negro please look. I know we know he's so secretly sick of these white folks. But, when he was like, I shall talk about my brother. Anyway, I please, you shall not.
Right. You don't.
Oh my God.
I talk about him out of love.
Yeah. He was like, my brother was never that wasn't ever his strong suit. And he goes, what? He goes, being king. No wonder he thought he could speak freely, Daemon. Finally, she says, that's all I have. Apologies in advance for length or misspellings. You're fine. So then Devin. Hey, Devin.
Hey, Boo.
Hey, Boos. Couple of questions this week. First, how sad is it that even in fantasy worlds, brown people have to tell white folk about their privilege? Massaria was like, nigga, you got a dragon and white hair privilege. My head is going to end up on a spike. Yes, she did. But also, what accent was that?
Oh, my God. That accent was horrific.
I can't. What is that? What is she doing? What did they tell? What is happening?
God, I think they were trying to create some French-ish exotic accent, and I have never seen this actress on anything, although I have heard that she's amazing in everything she does.
Wait, so you haven't seen Ex Machina?
I haven't. Yeah.
Ah.
So I've seen her in the showrunners.
Yes, I've seen her. Yeah, it's not her. She's great.
It was their choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
To the point where, again, I never, I saw her in Ex Machina and didn't realize that she was, Donnie, what was that show with the internet startup? And it's was it not Galifianakis, but the one from Community, who's in all the memes with the mustache.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So there was a show about a startup that he had, and she's like the main protagonist in that. And then I feel like there was like one more thing I recently saw her in. Again, it's like you get to the end and I go to IMDb and I'm like, holy shit, that's her. Same thing with this. So I know she's good in everything I've seen her in, but I don't know why they chose this.
And what's weird is I don't think it wasn't that strong in the first episode. I thought it was fine whatever she was doing in that episode. And then this episode, it was clearly recorded.
Yeah.
Like they did it over. Yeah. They dubbed it.
Yeah.
So that was horrific that they actually put in extra effort
to be that bad.
Somehow made it worse. I have to assume that going forward, she's going to have to dial it down because she's not going away.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So
that's an interesting choice. His second question: how long before Rhaenyra realizes that Rhaenys is a bad bitch and maybe she knows what she's talking about? Like, just join forces, sis. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yep.
Love y'all. Can't wait to hear the pod. Sarah, you're always right, even when you're wrong.
I keep trying to tell my husband this.
Right? They don't listen. Finally, the last feedback is from Mo. Hey, Mo. What's up to my favorite ladies? Bullet, bullet, bullet. I'm so happy to be leaving feedback and that I get to listen to you guys talk about this episode, especially since you're Whovians. I don't want to get into too many specifics. I hated episode 1 because of the childbirth scene. Yes. I came to Game of Thrones for the misogynist violence towards men, and I would like them to keep the violence with the men and not drag us into it, as it was a very harrowing experience for me to watch her die and not come back as a ghost and choke the life out of Viserys immediately after. Baby hands of Balon too. Absolutely.
That's what we need in
Yes.
episode 3. We need for some men to die.
Yes, please. They had us in the first half because they cut that dick off, right? So they had us in the first
More
half.
of that,
Sarah.
please.
More of that. And then it was like straight misogyny, and I was like, Jesus Christ. Okay. We need some more of that. Hopefully we'll get it next week with the crab feeder. That looks like a bunch of men. I didn't see any
True.
women out there.
Yeah. There were some, like, I felt like there were feminine screaming,
Ah.
but you have to
Casualties.
imagine that the majority of sailors are
Mhm.
men, so...
It's interesting to me too that they're also like, I feel like with Game of Thrones, we didn't spend a lot of time in the free cities until like later seasons, right? You know, we spent real time in Bravos.
Mhm.
Well, I guess with Dany, what am I talking about? Yeah, she went through Karth, right, and all that. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
But it's interesting that we haven't really yet been there in this series, but because of Game of Thrones, we know. Like,
Yeah.
do you get what I'm saying? To like, we understand the free cities. Like, they just need to say
Exactly.
that, and we understand what's going on over there.
There's always some shit going on.
Yeah, and
in
I
these
love
cities.
that. So, especially when they show the crab feeder at the beginning and at the end, like nailing those people to the. I was like, oh yeah,
Ugh.
they like to do that over there, right? Because you remember with
Oh,
Dany with the
exactly.
those children, yeah.
Nailing things to poles
Mhm.
is their favorite.
That's the shit they love over there. Anyway, also, did y'all back to Mo? Also, did y'all notice how so many of the speaking parts are to the women? I can't wait till men realize they've been tricked into watching a show where women have opinions. Yo, I would absolutely be curious to see what that percentage, like what that breakdown is, because it still feels like a
Yeah.
very male heavy show, though. At least to this
Right.
point. I think once them high towers kill that king, once that raggedy ass high towers kills Viserys, I think we're going to get a lot more women stuff, because it feels like it's going to be a lot of, man, if they kill Corlys, I'm going to be mad. But then it would really be what, Rhaenys, Rhaenyra, Alicent,
Yeah.
and just Daemon. Don't kill Daemon, please. Sarah, does Daemon die? Don't tell me.
I mean, they all die technically.
I know, right? I know. I'll be so mad if this shit is a hit. Everybody loves him, and then we all find out, oh yeah, but like he's not in season 2, like a Ned Stark thing. I will fucking burn all this shit to the ground. Don't play with me.
He's gotta be.
Well, I mean, because like now that we know we're getting 2 seasons, we're like the dance of the dragon, all that shit. Like, I'm assuming
that'll be in season 2.
Right, I was gonna say, I'm assuming we get like lots of dragon fights though, like, or lots of dragon action, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Next season?
All seasons, like until the
Yeah.
very end, right?
Right. Would they have to essentially assign dragons to recognizable players, especially once we jump forward? You know, they have to
Right,
bring
right.
forward the important people that eventually go into the dance, and
Now-
they'll all have to be assigned dragons.
Now, the number that we heard going into this, like House of the Dragon is going to have X number of dragons with different personalities. Was it over the course of the series or specifically this first season? I felt like it was first season specific.
It
because
I think
because
that
we
it
didn't
was
know,
the season,
right? Because we didn't know that
Mhm.
they would get a second season. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious how many dragons we're going to get this season. I should probably go look at some of those articles again. Well, no.
They said something like 12, I think.
That's what I thought. I thought it was in the double digits, and I was super excited. And so for that, I mean, it makes sense with time skips, right?
Yeah.
Oh, God, because I'm assuming, what's his name? Aegon's going to get a dragon.
Yeah, okay, so this says there's 17 dragons in the prequel, but that to me includes the dance.
Okay. So not just the first season.
Yeah.
So we probably won't get 17 this season.
Yeah, not this season.
But by the end of the series, we'll have.
Because most of those people are
because they're probably
not even born.
Yeah, I was gonna say those 17 are probably just the, like you said, the main dragons in this, everything that is and to come. So
right.
Yeah. Okay. I still can't believe we're gonna lose dragons over these people's bullshit, but all right, whatever. So Mo says, I truly wanted to hate this show, but they just had to go and cast Matt Smith. The only actor I would probably give an incest pass. So I hope all of you are happy Game of Thrones is back and we are again cheering for an incestuous couple. Yes, we are. Leave us alone. Nico, you better hush. They don't even let us work into it like Jaime and Cersei. What do you mean? Jaime and Cersei were fucking doggy styling it at the end of the first episode.
I don't know that they worked into it.
No, we were like, what is happening? They
were thrown right into the deep end.
If anything, they presented them like normal fucking siblings through the whole episode until that scene at the end. And we were all like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing.
Then they were literally fucking siblings.
Yes. At least with this, it's like, here's a necklace, turn around. We're all like, oh, this feels a little incesty. At least we see this coming. And we're all here for it.
It's true.
Okay. Anyway, nope. It's like season 1. We're out here rooting for the incest couple. I just want to point that out. Yes, we are. Don't you judge us. Was I going to boycott?
I like problematic ships. That's just how it is.
Was I going to boycott the show initially out of saltiness? Yes. Because at this point, the only thing that will make me happy is a Dunkin' Egg spinoff. But as also someone who grew up watching Xena, the audacity of me to not watch a historical drama with this type of budget value. Right? Like, what's wrong with you? You better take these blessings. All that to say, Viserys is the worst, but I love how they humanize his fuckboy ways. Yes, you're just like, he's so stupid. It's going to be so sad when these high towers murder him with a boar.
Such a freaking puppy dog. Even knowing, he had to know at a certain level how bad it was going to be. And he was still surprised.
Yes. He absolutely had that stupid ass surprised look on his face when she stormed out of there. I was like, what is wrong with you?
I immediately thought of that like screenshot from Parks and Rec that they use, as like a meme where they're doing a presentation and it's like, number 1, you blew it. Number 2, super hard. Number 3, complete buffoonery.
Yes. And then like smug face over there. Oh my God. When does he die? No, don't tell me. Oh my God. Do you know, like, we used to do death pools? Oh,
yes.
See, I don't know. We can't, like, we did it for
The Walking
Dead, and that was based off source material. I guess, like, yeah, I'm curious, like, people like me who haven't, like, we know these people are all going to eventually die, but, like, in terms of as the show progresses, like, this season, I'll be real curious to see. Oh my God, if they kill Daemon, I'm going to be so mad. If they Ned Stark him. Anyway, finally, Mo says, where are we? Hold on. I want Rihanna to burn everything down. And again, I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say about everything Daemon. because as a younger sibling, he's absolutely right about everything. Oh, and Otto has to die. Thank you. That's what I've been saying. That's it. Can't wait to listen. Please kill him sooner than later. Please.
Yes.
So that's it. Super excited for next week to meet this little Damien, Children of the Corn looking child.
Ugh.
The disdain in your voice at the thought of this precious, what I'm sure is going to be a quite lovely looking child.
I'm sure he's a darling real life child.
Yes, but in the show, oh, Allison, I hate you. And it looks like Damon's headed to the Stepstones, which looks like Stepstones, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh shit, I get it now. So that's good. And oh, there's an interesting shot of like Rhaenyra going off on her own and like possibly getting in a little bit of danger. So I'm like, is this going to be where Kristen Cole earns his pay?
Steps in.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
We'll see. Anyway, as always, thank you, Sarah, for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for writing in. Sarah and I will be back next week to talk about episode 3, which we know is... Do I want to say the title?
Sure.
Do you know it?
Second of his name.
Yeah, second of his name. That little Children of the Corn. Look at... No, I'm sorry. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.